Alright, so I'm back on the F-250 tonight. I really need to get this truck back on the road. I need to use it. I basically just did this job because I can do it, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. To reach the bolts on the back of the motor, back by the firewall, standing on the front bumper, reaching back there, it's kind of painful. Like I'm pulling my calf muscles and stuff. The job isn't hard per se, it's just kind of time consuming, and all of these bolts that hold the valve cover on, there's, let me see how many. I'm taking the last one out of the back now. There's some have brackets. The ones that have brackets are 10 millimeter on top, and the ones that don't have brackets are 12 millimeter, just going around the valve cover. I got them sitting up there on top. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It looks like 11 bolts. Yeah. So I'm taking the last one out of the very back now. It's right up against the firewall. I'm using a 1/4-inch drive on it. The nice thing about them is none of them they're not torqued super tight. So the torque on them is not much, so they're all breaking loose. Like I said, I could use a 1/4-inch to break them all loose. I've been using 3/8 drive on the ones that I can use a 3/8 drive on, but like this one back by the firewall, I just got the ratchet down in there. But I have to keep getting down and walking around because my legs are killing me. I should have just took this truck somewhere and paid somebody to do it. I just hate paying somebody to do something that I can do, but in all reality, I've been working overtime all the time, so yeah, should have just picked up some more overtime shifts and let somebody else deal with this. They'll do it in a quicker fashion than me. You know, I do it here and there. Get this thing back on the road. So I got one more bolt, and then this cover will come off, and I can replace the dummy plugs and standpipe. And then I got to do the other side. And this side has more access. This side's going to be even worse because there's more. You got the alternator there. You got, I'm not sure, something with the air conditioning right there on the side, right up against where you got to remove these bolts. And that's where it's going to be even more tedious. So I'm really not looking forward to that. But I'll probably get to that side tomorrow. But basically, I'm going to finish pulling out this last bolt back there, and then I'm gonna get this cover off. Alright, so I just got the all the bolts removed. Got the last one out. It's not fun. These two are still on this bracket. I'm not removing that tube off the other side with that sensor. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It looks like there's 11 bolts that hold this cover on. I should be able to move it out of the way now. Hopefully. Hopefully. I have to move some harnesses and hoses, and I should be able to lift it up out of here now. There's just going to be a bunch of stuff interfering. But there's the cover. Some rust on the bottom side. So we got our cover off now, and there's the fuel rail that we're going to be replacing these pieces in. The dummy plugs are, I believe, right here and right here. We're going to be replacing this guy right here. They give us all new ones with new O-rings. I'm going to clean up the gasket. And then we're going to put it back together. Not fun, but one side's open, then we got to do the other side, and there's a lot more crap on that side. Alright, so I got the cover off. Now I'm going to pull the gasket out of here and clean it up. Make sure it's all good to go. A lot of dirt. Now what we're looking at is right here is a dummy plug, and this one right back here is the standpipe. From what I've seen in other videos, there's a channel, his name is Diesel Tech Ron. He's got a ton of videos on these Powerstrokes, and not just the 6.0s. He's got 7.3s, 6.4s, injectors, glow plugs, everything. Like he says, the dummy plugs, they fail all the time. The standpipes are good most of the time, but he replaces them, puts the modded ones in a lot. So we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing. I have the upgraded ones. The stock ones are 10mm and the new ones are 12mm. So I'm gonna grab a 10mm socket. Alright. So 10mm, they're the old style stock ones. Pretty tight. Pretty tight. Alright. Ended up getting one of these Milwaukee 3/8 battery operated ratchets. They're pretty nice. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and remove this. This is the old style. The new style has Teflon O-rings as a backup O-ring. I'm going to wipe this down. We'll take a look at it and see what the O-rings look like. And here's what's causing the problem I'm having. Look at that O-ring. That O-ring right there, that is letting oil bypass, and that's why I'm getting a hot no start. And once it fails completely, it won't start at all. But yep, right there, the O-ring's all busted, deteriorated, and that is my issue. And here, and like I said, that's the old stock style, is a 10mm Allen. The new one, here's the old versus the new. The new one has backup Teflon seals, and it's a 12mm. That's the standpipe. Not the standpipe. That's the dummy plugs. New O-rings are, I put some used oil on the seals and putting it back down in, and that will fix your hot no start most of the time. It could be some other issues, but if you have messed up O-rings like that, typically that's the problem with these. I couldn't find a 12mm socket, so I just bought a 12mm wrench. Allen key, I should say. You could also use the back of a chisel or a punch. Some of those are 12mm and they'll fit in here. Alright. Now I'm going to pull this little plug here and check the O-ring on it. They can cause a long crank. Typically not a no start condition, but a long crank. So I'm going to inspect the O-ring on here, this little plug, make sure it's good. It's good to go, so I'm going to put it back in. Alright, then right back here, behind these connectors for your fickum, right here is another, that's the standpipe. And it is also going to be a 10 millimeter on the old and a 12 millimeter on the new. Alright, it's broke free. And this may come out in 2 pieces. It's pretty long. Yeah, it's going to come out in 2 pieces. There's the top piece. And need to get the bottom piece out. Yeah. These O-rings look good. And typically, this is the standpipe. Well, half of it anyways. The other half still down in there. These typically don't fail. But since I bought the kit, I'm going to go ahead and put the upgraded standpipe in too. So when I pulled the standpipe out, just the top piece came out and the bottom piece stayed down inside. I didn't know how I was going to get it out. I tried a magnet, didn't work. So I just wrapped electrical tape around the bottom here, and it goes down inside of there. Used the friction to grab it, and it came right out. Here's the new standpipe. The only real difference I see is that white Teflon seal. But it came with the kit, so I'm going to put the new one style in. It's got a 12 millimeter head on it versus the 10 millimeter factory. Alrighty, I'm going to put the fuel rail back on. It does leak a lot of oil when you take it out, and possibly when you put it in. Everything's got to be lined up correctly. This is what goes in your fuel injectors. Everything's seated. Goes in your fuel injectors, and this is where your standpipe goes. I got it pretty close. You'll have to look up in the manual what the torque is for the torque head screws and evenly torque them. They were pretty tight. That should be it right there. I'll make sure I'll get them all started. This is what they look like. I believe I said it was a number 29 or 30. Let me see if I can. 30 torques. Getting them all started. As I said, there's 9 of them around. Go ahead and run those in. I'm I'm not going to show all this, but you put your 9 screws in all the way down and torque them down. And then I'll put the standpipes back in that I had to remove to take that fuel rail off. Alright, so now I am putting what they call the standpipes. The reason that I tore into this project, because the O-rings go bad, I'm putting those back in. I had to remove the new ones that I put in to get the rail off. But the short one goes up front. It's got the new Teflon seals on it. They are 12 millimeter. The ones you take out will be 10 millimeter. You can use a chisel or a punch. Some of the chisels that have the same 12 millimeter shank that you can use, but I have a 12 millimeter Allen. Torque those down tight. The back one is a lot longer. Half of it stayed down in and it separated, so there was no reason to remove the whole thing. But here's half of the new one. It's probably 12 inches long. And that'll go down inside of the bottom piece. Alright, and then once you get that tight, the next step, I'm going to take a rag and clean up this surface, mating surface here, put the gasket and the cover, valve cover back on, and then I'll move to the other side.